Hey, welcome to the Melvin Live show. How's everyone doing? Well, today it's episode 97, and it's a great time here today. I hope everyone is doing well. I'm so excited because a few things. Number one is that we're coming to 100th episode, and the 100th episode is going to happen on September the 3rd at 9:30 p.m. Singapore time. And what I'll be sharing with you during that 100th episode itself is I'm going to be talking about what are some of the things that you need to do, and we're going to go deep dive into the um, analysis of the readings and the research I've done based on looking at COVID-19, post COVID-19, for example. And the other thing that I will also be talking about is that what are some of the insights from there, and what are some of the things that you can take advantage of. So what are the key things that you definitely want to be able to take advantage of? So if that's something that is going to be of interest to you, you definitely want to catch us on September the 3rd at 9:30 p.m. And do send in your questions early, because if you got questions, feel free to leave us your questions in the comments or send me a DM. I'll be more than happy to answer the questions that you might have. All right. And with that aside, this is the Melvin Live Show. And in case you are joining us for the first time, this show we goes into the mindset, skill set, and the tool set about building a one person, 1 million all digital business. And with that, what I'd like to talk to you about today in today's episode is really about leadership. Now, I understand many of you out here wants to be putting yourself out there. You want to be able to lead. But before you can actually lead someone, what is the first thing that you must do? And this is what I'd like you to consider first when you want to lead someone. So the idea may seem a little shocking, because what I am proposing to you is that if you want to be a leader, then first thing first, you have to be selfish. Now, what do I mean by that? Before I get into that, I'd like to share with you a little bit of a backstory here. Now, the backstory is basically this. When I was in school, I studied economics. And one of the branches of economics that we studied was called public economics. Now, in public economics, we actually look at some of the things which includes, for example, in a city, town, or even a country like Singapore, how do you determine what is the minimum number of hospital beds that there must be in order to provide for that city, town, or country? Now, many of us might not have thought about this, and to many of us, it's like, what's the big deal? Why do we need to talk about hospital beds? Because it seemed like at any point in time when we need a hospital bed, we should be able to get a hospital bed. Now, that was true until when COVID 19 happened. And so many of us understood that during COVID 19, there was this huge concern, because for many countries, Singapore included, for many countries, the hospitals and the healthcare facilities was actually bursting at the seams. Because what happened was that originally the healthcare facility was only designed to take care of X percentage of the population itself. Now, of course, when COVID 19 struck, that percentage grew to an extremely large percentage all of a sudden. And as a result of that, the hospitals were not able to take in patients. And the worst thing that have to happen is that they run out of facilities, they run out of equipment like ventilators. And as a result of that, the doctors would have to make that dreaded decision of who to assign the ventilators to. And in that decision itself, it will mean that some people would have to give up their life for others. Now, whether that's fair or not, that's another question altogether. But the point here is this: I believe you have come across this safety announcement when you bought the plane. I know for many of us, it's been a while since we last boarded a plane, but I'm sure you would remember this safety message. And the safety message goes something like this: always put on the mask for yourself before you help somebody else, right? Always put on the mask for yourself before you help somebody else. So, what I mean here is, of course, being selfish is to take care of yourself first, then you take care of other people. Now, when I heard this concept initially, like you, I probably didn't pay too much attention to it because I was like, yeah, I mean, yes, intellectually it makes sense. We know what it means. But COVID 19 has shown us that really, unless we are able to take care of ourselves, right? And we need to take care of ourselves. We need, for example, we need to put on a mask, right? We need to put on the mask. Why do we need to put on the mask? It's not about, I do not care if I get infected, but it's also about that you may very well infect someone else. So you have to be selfish in that sense. You have to take care of yourself. And by taking care of yourself, what's going to happen is, for instance, you are able to bring about that level of calmness and that level of peace and level of stillness in your mind, in your body, in your soul. And as a result of that, only then you could go about leading other people. So that's what we meant by that. So next is really about the idea of taking care of yourself, because without you taking care of yourself, how can you make an impact? So right now, for example, right now in Singapore, we are facing another, I would say, sort of a pandemic. In addition to COVID 19, the other situation that we are facing is a dengue fever. Now, there has been, because of the recent high level of rainfall that we are getting, and in addition to that, prior to that, there was the lockdown, and so some of the essential services were being scaled back. And as a result of all these elements put together, it has resulted in a larger possibility of mosquito breeding. And mosquito breeding, of course, it's one set of problems, but the other set of problem is when you get dengue. And so over here, really, the issue is very simple. As long as you take care of yourself, as long as you take care of your family, you do your part. What's going to happen is that you're going to have a chain effect on other people. So, as an example, for me, as a leader at home, as a leader in the organization, as a leader of the community, one of the key things that I must do is I need to take care of myself. And so taking care of myself could mean different thing for different people. For you, it could be making sure that you have got sufficient revenue coming in. For me, there are many areas that I'm looking at. And unless and until you are able to take care of yourself, then only then you are able to make an impact. So think about it this way: if I am mindful about what's going on in my life, I have that level of self-awareness, and because I have that level of self-awareness, I'm actually able to make adjustments so that I am able to perform in a more optimal way. I'm able to perform in a way that it's going to give me that peak performance. And because of that, I get absolutely satisfied with myself. And so when I come back home, or if I meet someone else in the office, or I meet someone else at work, I wouldn't be carrying all those frustrations and anger and anxiety with me and knowingly or unknowingly unleashing on the other person. Now, when we talk about impact, of course, the impact could be a positive impact, it could also be a negative impact. And in this case, when we as a leader are uh, filled with the anger, the baggage of frustrations, anxiety, and feelings of unjust, for example, when we have all those feelings, we can't help but have that rub it off with, onto the people that we meet, whether professionally or personally. And so you hear of people where, they sometimes when they come back from work itself, they kind of blow up on their family because that energy has to go somewhere, and unfortunately it's going to be unleashed on the people that you're with. So once we kind of take care of ourselves, once we are able to be centered, we have that level of awareness, we know that we are working on it, we know that we are correcting it, we know that we are making progress. And so with that energy and that positivity, when you meet another person, very likely you're going to be encouraging the other person, you're going to be supportive of the other person, you're going to be appreciative of that person instead of being a negative and being discouraging towards the other person, right? So how do we actually go about doing this? And I think for me, what has worked for me really, really well is at a few level. Number one, it's I always take care of myself in terms of my spiritual growth. As a spiritual person, I make it a point that whatever I'm doing, I want to. I'm not saying that I'm perfect or I'm there yet. But what I'm saying is, whatever I do, I strive, right? I strive to do and to behave and to lead my life in accordance to what is said in the scripture. And that's very, really important to me. And many days I struggle, right? Many days I struggle. But there are days where I am able to follow the word, I'm able to follow the path. And how that has helped me is the following. So, what I do is every day I will read some passages from the Bible, and I would then ask God to guide me in terms of what exactly should I be doing? How can I be applying what I'm reading to my life? And of course, depending on circumstances and depending on context, sometimes the verses are so obvious or so relevant or so apt, whereas sometimes, I just really do not know what to do. And so that will be the first thing. That will be one aspect of it that I will need to take care of myself. The other aspect that I need to take care of myself is that I need to know that whatever I'm doing, I'm actually doing it based on my purpose. I mean, ideally, we should all be doing work that we want to do, not we have to do. That say, there are circumstances that we simply have to do the work that we have to do, And that may not necessarily be the work that we want to do simply for the fact that we got bills to pay. And that's a fact of life, right? And, and so ideally, of course, we want to be able to do the kind of work that we are made to do, that we have a purpose that is aligned to our purpose. And so what I do is every day I make it a point that at least 20% of the activities that I am doing, it's me leaving out my purpose. Now, ideally, of course, it should be 100%. That's I think to expect to work towards 100% right off the bat, I think that's being naive. So we can start off small, but as we grow and as we become better, this is where we will be able to achieve that level of the work that we do. It's clearly aligned with our purpose. The other thing that I do to take care of myself, which you definitely would want to consider, it's exercising. Now, I cannot tell you how much exercising has been such a huge part for me ever since my daughter was born in 2013. Now, exercising not only just gives me the ability to have a good sweat, what it does is that it allows me to bring in as much oxygen as possible. And those oxygen are the fuel for my muscles. And 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 with all that working, working the heart, trimming the fat, that has given me a higher level of energy. And this is something that I've seen over the last couple of weeks, where I have been putting in the run on a consistent basis and much more intense than I used to. It has resulted in a greater amount of energy that I feel. And so that's another part. Now, coming very close to exercising, it's rest. And that is the part that I'm still working on, because some days I feel good because I am well rested, but some days I don't feel so optimal. And so the aim is to make sure that whatever it is, you want to have the highest and the best quality of sleep ever. And so with that, I'm experimenting with certain heating products and certain products that kind of help circulate the blood or enhance the circulation of the blood, and that really gives me the ability to sleep better and to have a better sleep. Now, the other thing that I use to help me in my sleep, it's I've always have the app called Calm, Calm, playing the sleep story and lulling me to bed. I found that to be extremely powerful, because it has allowed me to drift off into my slumberland. And and from that consistent usage of the app itself, I've seen tremendous improvements in terms of my sleep. And in addition to that, I also do take a short nap sometime after 11 o'clock, because that is the time where I have a huge dip in terms of my energy. But once I get that 20 minutes nap in, I then get an extreme boost afterwards. And sometimes the nap is just sitting on the chair and just dozing off for a couple of minutes, right? Of course, if I'm working from home and if it allows me, I would be taking a nap on the bed. But otherwise, if I'm in the office or if I'm outside, then it just means that, just sitting down and closing my eyes and just allowing myself to drift into a short nap just for a short period of time. And that has given me that productivity boost. So of course that's the the physical part of taking care of yourself. The other part that I take care of myself, of course, it's in the area of goal setting. And for that we can dive in a little bit deeper in subsequent episodes. And I think it's going to be extremely important for you to not only set goals, but to be able to identify the right results as well as the key activities that is going to help you work towards your goals. So in the past, I tend to work on activities that kind of build or lead me towards the goal, but not actually making progress, if you know what I'm saying. And so that has, I have lost countless days, months, and even years in that respect itself. And so I found a more effective way to not just set goals, but identify the right results and also identify the right activities that it's going to take you to the next level. Right. And so those are the things that you can do. And of course, we will be, if you got questions, I'll be more than happy to answer any of your question. Once again, remember, if you want to be in the know about post COVID 19, what are some of the research and readings that I have been diving deep into, and how I've been distilling the insights from there, and from then making the relevant hypothesis, setting the goals in the right places, and identifying the actions. And so, if you want in on that, make sure you tune in at 9:30 p.m. Singapore time for the 100th episode of the Melvin Life Show. And with that, I thank you so much for your time today. It's been a great pleasure serving you, and I definitely hope to see you on the next one. Bye bye.